Police Minister Bheki Cele is demanding answers from his officers. He wants to know why a suspected drug dealer in Chatsworth was allowed to continue operating for years without a conviction. Pile, known as Teddy Mafia, was gunned down on Monday. An angry mob then beheaded two people believed to have been responsible.
I have a question that I raised with the police, that if this guy was known to be a non-gangster and a drug dealer, why was he still out there? This is what the community and all of us were calling to say, don't deal with these small fish, don't deal with the men on the street here, deal with the real guys. That it happened, that somebody killed them and they were killed. I'm very sure if we have acted as the police, do what we're supposed to do, we shouldn't have had the chain reaction that happened yesterday. But there is investigation going on. We'll be getting the report, and I hope, and I've called, that more of the top guys on drugs must be arrested.
Well, police fear that the death of suspected drug kingpin Pile could spark more violence. A drug turf war in the area has claimed dozens of lives. So, leader of the People Against Gangsterism and Drugs, Abdus Salam Ibrahim, joins us now. Very good morning to you. We've got the police minister saying there, which sounds to me rather naive, why didn't people call him out and report on him? I mean, it's not as easy as that, is it?
Good morning. And good morning to your listeners. I just want to first start off that the minister, I don't know in what country he's living, on what planet is he living. The ANC and all other, most political parties take money from gangsters and drug dealers for their political campaigns, for the election. So how come, the first question we must ask, how come these ministers and political parties take donations for their campaigns when they run for political office? Secondly, is that the police, and I would say 50% of the police, our research, is corrupt and is in cahoots with gangsters and drug dealers.
All right, so
then so he's asking a question, and this question doesn't make sense. They know exactly, the intelligence reports tells them exactly who's who in the zoo in South Africa. So
okay,
for him to
tell us
come
more
and say
about
he
the
doesn't
communication
understand.
then. I mean, how do these communications work with the police and the ANC councillors who, as you say, take money for elections? How does it work?
They must, even if you look at the Cyril's RC campaign, election campaign that's passed, that the people have asked for him he went to court to, in actual fact, make sure that the RC campaign of him, never the money collected, never be made public. We're asking, of the 500 million he collected, how much of that money was given by drug dealers and gangsters? He must answer that. Why is he hiding this?
Sure, okay,
It's a very serious question.
Yeah,
it's a very serious question.
Claims, but I mean, I agree with you, the fact that sort of naivety, not knowing why gang leaders are not handed over. Let's move away slightly from police and politicians here, and tell us about how these gang leaders are successful when they operate in societies like Chatsworth, what their relationship with the community is.
The whole problem here is that they can only be successful because, and you cannot move away from the police and government and community leaders and business people that support these gangsters and drug dealers. If the community rise, and it's the right of the community to rise against gangsters and drug dealers like this, but when the people go to the streets, you will find the government and the police, and even the army will suppress and use every force they have to make sure that the people don't defend themselves against these drug dealers and gangsters. But when these gangsters and drug dealers attack, kill, maim, rob and rape our country, our community, our children, young and old, mothers and fathers, you don't see the same response against these drug dealers and gangsters from the state. So we're sitting with a problem where the state, if you look at Paget, how they have clamped down, every house they made sure that they take the people off the streets and to give the gangsters and the drug dealers a free rein in this country. Why is it that they can't use that same force against the gangsters and drug dealers?
If this continues, and quite clearly it will, there's a lot of money involved, where does it leave people in the community, kids who don't want to fall into these gangs? What options do they have?
The only option at the moment that people have is to mobilize themselves. And they need to mobilize, they need to educate, and we have to say they have to take mass action against these people. If not, and I want the country to listen to me very carefully, what we see in Brazil and these areas is going to get worse in South Africa. These gangsters and drug dealers is laundering their money with business people, with politicians, with police. They even pay monies to mosques, churches and synagogues. They pay their rent, they pay the carpets on mosques, they pay the electricity, they give donations. Nobody asks where the donations come from, whose donations is it. Where does this stop? We need serious people to look at what's happening in our country, because one day it's going to be too late to stand up, because they are going to rule over the nations.
And I should imagine the sort of money that we're talking about here, I mean, it must be billions, the drugs, all the other areas that these gangs are.
We're talking billions and billions, and if not trillions of rands per annum. Massive. In our own community in Cape Town, we have all type, Muslim, Christian, Jewish people, business people, known business people going to mosques, synagogues and churches. That's laundering the money for these drug dealers. They are becoming banks, private banks. This is what's happening in our communities. Youngsters is laundering their money for them and opening business for them. Oh, you see these youngsters popping up all over.
Very, very hard to hear. Abdus Salam Ibrahim from Pagat. Thank you.
Yeah.